Welcome back, dear viewers. This is Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup, and we are Sir TryOnceMore, the Gargoyle fighter of Ashenzari. I just now noticed when I was sort of reviewing my inventory that our Great Mace is the Great Mace of popular demand. I just think that's fantastic. This mace back by popular demand. Anyway, we also picked up along the way a Stone of Tremors, which I mentioned earlier. I think we've got another one back in our stash. It causes an earthquake and cool stuff. It's a cool panic button if it works, but it's currently pretty unreliable because our evocation skill is not that high. It's, reasonable. It's pretty good. I tend to want to get it up to about 15 for those evocables, which I might do. We did see that legendary deck of cards anyway, and I think 10 dodging is good enough for now. I think we're okay on our evasion. I don't think I want to turn that back on unless we find a lighter armor, in which case we'll need all the dodging we can get. I do like the idea of training spellcasting some more. Because our intelligence is so low, our spell hunger is going to be relatively high. Since it's there is a thing, there's a part of the algorithm for spellcasting that functions in a multiplicative manner with your intelligence for determining power and hunger and a bunch of different things. It's really complicated, but it's kind of neat to, especially if you are a mathematically inclined person. It's kind of neat to see how those work out, and you can get really micromanagey with it and plan your character down to a single digits of stuff, and that's an awesome way to play. I fully support that. I don't do that when I'm doing commentary because, well, that takes a little bit of time and it's not very fun for you. Though if please leave in the comments if you want to see me do a session that way, and I'll give it a shot. I don't know. I may have to switch recording programs, but if if like this mace, it is found to be in popular demand, I will consider doing it. That's a dangerous monster. We'll let it come to us. Black Mamba. See the little hourglass in the upper right-hand corner of its tile? Well, now it's dead. That means it's slowed because of our freezing effect on our Great Mace. This is so great. Pretty sure there are no cold monsters anywhere, no cold effects anywhere in this branch. So we don't even have to worry about our current cold vulnerability, which, no, I have not forgotten about it. I never forget about vulnerabilities. Because when I do, I die. And that's like saying I never die, which is absolutely not true. I forget about cold vulnerabilities all the time. The reason why I say cold vulnerability specifically is because fire is so much more deadly and so much more common, especially in the later levels, that you should never ever have fire vulnerability. Under no circumstances should you allow that to happen. If you have it as a mutation, get rid of it. Like you can drink a potion of cure mutation just for a severe fire debuff. Especially if you haven't found sources of protection from fire, or you can't afford the slots because you need too many other things. Like if you're having a weak run, you have to be more generous with your consumables, and that can even include cure mutes. Probably means you won't get to the end of the game, but sometimes just getting a few more levels, a few levels further on is achievement enough. I love it when I get a little bit further than I have in previous sessions, even if it's not a win. These sharpshooters are just really tough. And I don't have a lot of experience with them yet. So I don't have a good sort of instinctual... I don't have a good instinct about how much damage they're going to be doing with each shot, how they tend to move. Like, a lot of monsters will use line of sight to their own advantage. They will their AI is good enough to not just try and take the direct path to you each time. They will also manipulate the map. See, that's a situation. This is another situation, by the way, where I saw that there were two dangerous monsters and two other monsters in that room, and I could easily have used my scrying ability with Ashinzari, which costs very little. I mean, the piety cost is not that significant, I don't think. And I would have been able to see what was in there, and I probably wouldn't have opened that door. I probably would have tried to lay a trap or something. But what's done is done. That's why I call Ashinzari the planning god, because I could have easily known what was coming and made a plan, but instead I didn't, and now I have to. Um, let's just try, yeah, breaking line of sight with the one. Oh, see, of course, Bolt of Frost. Here I was going on um, about the dearth of sources of cold. Wow, those hurt. We got rid of our weakness, but crap. Oh, wow, we could die right here. I think we need to use a scroll of blinking. I think that's our best option right now. That's the only thing that I can think to do that will guarantee that we don't die right now, or will close to guarantee. Like, because we could try drinking a potion of heal wounds would be less costly. I value those less than scrolls of blinking because these are useful at every single point in the game, whereas these will only be useful for another branch or two until we get, you know, we're encountering monsters like this where they're doing more damage to us in one turn than we can heal with a potion of heal wounds, unless they miss us. And that's if you're at the point where your best bet is to hope your opponent misses you, you have screwed up somewhere along the way, and I don't want that point to be now. So I believe I'm going to use this scroll of blinking. Let me make sure I can. Let me make sure I don't have the stasis effect. Okay, I can't cast, but that's fine. I can read scrolls because I have my resist cold ring on that has the casting penalty. The spellcast prohibition. Okay, yeah, let's blink. I think we're going to go to this open door over here. And that's going to do two things for us. It's going to break line of sight with both these sharpshooters at the same time. It's going to let us step in and shut this door, which means that they won't have line of sight on us until one of them physically reaches this door. And since they are slow, we will be able to get to this staircase first. I wish I'd explored all the staircases because then I would know where this leads. But I think this is our best option to survive. Another option would be to read the Scroll of Fog, because that would block their line of sight. I think they would still be able to get a shot off on me. At least one, like when I read the scroll, they shoot into the cloud, but I don't think they'd be able to try and hit me after that. But I don't even want to take one hit from them. Yeah. So I think that's what we're going to do. Close the door. Hopefully Ashinzari lets us sense them through the walls so we can see if they're coming. Good. Okay, we survived. Wow, that was pretty intense. I'm glad we lived. And that we only had to use a blink scroll. Like I know I said I value them highly, but using only one resource in a situation is, I mean, it's better than using more. The Stone of Tremors could have conceivably been an option when we were up closer to them, when we opened that door the first time, but it's unreliable at this point. And in fact, I think I may... Oh, what's... Spider form is at 12% without wizardry. 4% with. Okay. We can stop training poison magic. I'll stop it when it gets to 8.0 boosted. Because I figure we're going to be worshipping Ashnzari long enough that I can go ahead and plan for these kinds of skills uh, based on their boosted amount. Like we won't stop worshipping Ashnzari and lose this bonus in the middle of a battle that would drop us below a certain uh, threshold for a skill point. Okay, the question is what do we want to do now? That was a little bit of a scare. A little bit of a check, I think, even. I felt like part of it is that we don't have another source of resist cold, and I really don't want to stop using this mace. I haven't found anything else that really compares. I think maybe I found a good axe, but I'd have to do the Ashnzari skill switch, and I don't want to do that right now. I'm very happy with this mace. But we only have this one source of resist cold, and it's not great. The resist poison doesn't do anything additional for us, and not being able to cast our 3 spells, even though that's a minor disadvantage for us right now, is definitely a disadvantage. It means we can't both mitigate our vulnerability to cold and cast our spider form. Like, even though I think if we I think if we were not wearing this ring, I think if we're as we are now, in fact, this might be worth an experiment. I'm going to try casting this here. Because why not? I'm safe here for now, and I want to know what this does right now before I try and use it as an escape option. Okay, yeah. See, this mitigated our vulnerability to cold because our weapon melded into our body with the transformation. The only thing, I guess, that we're still wearing are our rings. Does that make sense? No? Well, yeah. Huh. Yeah, I guess we still have our rings and our amulet on. Yeah, because I still have clarity. Okay, so we keep our jewelry. That's good to know. So that makes this ring less crucial, fortunately. And if we need to actually be resistant to cold, I think we could then put this on. Yeah. Alright. So we can actually be resistant to cold with 2 turns, I think. One for turning into the spider, and another for putting on that ring. Yeah. Takes a turn. Because it's a half a turn to take off the ring, and then it's a half a turn to put on the ring. Okay, cool. The reason why I'm not testing the Stone of Tremors is because it takes a really long time to recharge, and I would rather this be more of a pure panic button. I think I'm going to put a little trickle here into evocations, and I'll get rid of poison magic as soon as it hits boosted 8. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. For now, I think I don't want to be in here anymore. This is a little too scary for me. So where else can we go? We can go to the shoals, which is dangerous, but I feel like it's more of a known quantity for me. There are definitely new things in there since 0.13, but I feel like they're not as dramatic. Proportionally, they're not that much harder than, or they're not as the increase in difficulty in the shoals was not as great as the increase in difficulty in the snake pit by an order of magnitude. That's what I'm trying to get at. We could do Orc 4. I don't think we are slightly resistant to hostile enchantments. That's not nearly good enough to try and do the Elven Halls. You want to be, I think, have 4 pips of magic resistance is the recommended amount. which we get some naturally for being a gargoyle, I believe. We get some small amount each level. Maybe not. That might have been one of the things that they removed from gargoyles in 0.14. I think I'm going to check that, actually. Um, because gargoyles used to be even stronger than they are now. Oh, no, no, no. They still have it. 3 magic resistance per level. That's not 3 pips, it's just 3 points. I'm not sure what pips to points, what the ratio is, but that's fine. Um, I could try Orc 4. I kind of want to try Orc 4, because those shops could be really useful. They could provide us with something we're missing. Something that I'm not even sure I know that we're missing. So let's go back to our stash. Okay. That's good to know. How many spaces was that? I think this skips at 10 or 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no, 7. Okay. 2, 3, Alright, so like a full screen away currently, and that's at 3 power. Okay, cool. Yeah, so with the next level of poison magic, this should be both both long-lasting enough, because spell power is not influenced by wizardry. Only... oh, hold on. I can be wearing this. That's a better idea. The reason why it's not asking me which ring to take off when I switch is because one of my rings is cursed. That's a neat little trick with Ashen's that I think makes the game easier. So what do I want to do here? None of these look particularly memorizable. The Bolt of Fire could be cool. That could be an interesting addition to our arsenal, but take a few levels. I don't mind switching back to... the only thing is we have Fireball, which is probably good enough for us to at least offensively wait until we get Delayed Fireball, which Delayed Fireball is awesome. It lets you sort of put a fireball in your pocket. It gives you a free, I believe, instantaneous fireball cast at any time. So in one turn, you can lob 2 fireballs at something. I don't believe it increases the power or anything, but and the other perk of it is that if you already have Fireball memorized, it only costs 2 spell levels. Or if you memorize Delayed Fireball first, you get Fireball for free. So that's a neat little interaction that I think we can hold out for offensively. So we're looking at utility then. Control Teleport is something we could look at. Because I think we have a Wand of Teleportation, don't we? Or 2? I think we have 2 even. And controlled teleports are really useful. They take a little bit longer to activate than an uncontrolled teleport. Meaning we'd have to think of that as a panic button sooner in the fight. We couldn't use it as a last-minute thing. But it lets you pick where on the map you want to go. And that's really useful. You can just go back to the least dangerous staircase. And then just get out of there. It does contaminate you. And you of course have to spend a turn to cast the spell. And I don't know how long it lasts. I don't know how long you could sit with it hovering before you read a scroll or use the wand before you actually activate the teleport. And it would suck that if it ran out between when you started the teleport and when it went off. I don't know that it can do that. I just figured those things could all be possible, and we'd have to plan for them. So that's kind of iffy. Plus, we'd have to get a whole nother school of magic up, I believe. Yeah, because that's charms and translocations. And I don't think we have either. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that would be a real pain. I don't know that we're willing to go that deep for utility when we're still primarily a fighter. Though we may not necessarily always be, of course. Gargoyles are awesome. We always get either strength or intelligence. We never have to worry about getting a random point into dexterity. That's why I like strength-heavy fighters as gargoyles, because you don't need as much assistance from your random stats. Ignite poison is fun in the snake pits, because everything is poisonous and it just deals damage to everything in your line of sight. It's not as strong as I would like, though. Like, it's a cutesy trick, but unless you've also poisoned them, uh, it's not so great, though. Ooh, that is a really interesting interaction with Olgreb's Toxic Radiance. Ooh. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, this is going to be fun. I don't know how practical this is, but this is one of those moments where I just really want to try this out. This seems like a lot of fun, and if it works, it's going to be hilarious and overpowered. We have Olgreb's Toxic Radiance, which poisons everything around us, but we're immune to poison, so that drawback doesn't count. And then we'll just ignite the poison in everybody's blood that got there with the Toxic Radiance, which we're also immune to because we can never be poisoned. And then that should make the snake pit a lot easier. That's definitely worth points into transmutations. I don't mind doing that anyway because we have spider form. I no longer care about evocations. This sounds like way too much fun. Um, I think I'll get spellcasting up to level 5 because if we're going to be casting these spells, these hunger costs are unacceptable. We will starve before we can have any fun. And this is going to be so much fun, guys. I'm really excited. I hope that I don't eat these words in the next couple of videos when I stumble into a situation where everything's immune to poison and I've been relying on it this entire time. Scroll of Enchant Armor. Let's go ahead. I feel like we're more likely to come across better gloves that we're willing to wear than it is body armor. Like, the odds of getting a really good artifact body armor are less than getting an artifact gloves. So I'm going to enchant this ringmail. And, oh, that's another little perk of Ashinzari, or drawback, some people might say. She is the shackled god. There is a hidden price to her abilities. She preserves the curse on your stuff when you enchant it. Normally, enchant armor scrolls will remove a curse. In a pinch, you can do that if you have no remove curse scrolls, if it's just been a really dry run for those. And you really gotta switch armor or weapon or whatever, you can use enchantment scrolls to remove the curse artificially, or as sort of a secondary effect. It does, use up the scroll, and it still gives you the +1 bonus. But yeah, so we didn't have to worry about that. I kind of want to keep the stone on us still, just as a thing. Panic button. And I think I'll keep these sultanas and this lemon, since we're throwing around spells a little bit more. Having a way to pop out of starving, it still takes a full turn to eat, but like it's just a very slight hunger bump if we know we're right about to kill a bunch of edible creatures. Just efficiency. We'll definitely carry more perma food later on in the game when we've run out of most edible enemies and things are generally like undead or mutagenic, or they just don't leave corpses. Or we're casting spells enough that we get hungry. Anyway, lots of contingencies. I'm kind of dawdling because I'm not sure where to go next. Our equipment isn't well enough enchanted or artifact. We don't have enough artifacts to consider the slime pit. Plus, I don't think we're strong enough anyway. The slime pit is really rough, especially for us without a source of resist corrosion. and resist acid. We could try the shoals. I'm kind of scared of the shoals because the snake pit was really tough. But I'm also a little bit scared of Orc 4. What can we do on... I kind of want to do Orc 4 once we can get this nice little combo going. So let's go to the shoals, where I feel like we're a little bit better equipped. For combat. Because Gargoyles at level 14 can fly continuously, which we are doing. So we have zero fear short of like... Oh, well, we can't even be petrified. We have zero fear of flying over deep water. It is a hazard for many characters. Like if you get confused next to deep water and you accidentally step into it as a race that can't fly or swim, you just die. You're dead. Your run is done. It's really embarrassing. It's really a disappointing way to end a run. Okay, here's a merfolk. The shoals have many of these. They almost invariably wield pole arms, like tridents or spears, or sometimes glaives or halberds. Oh, not as frequently. They usually use the more dexterity-based pole arms, so tridents and spears. But sometimes they're branded, and that's always a hazard, although we will know ahead of time. I don't... Yeah, so if it just says a runed trident when we're fighting something, Ashen's is still telling us what it's doing. It does nothing. It's just enchanted or cursed. Yeah, I guess we just know a whole bunch of things. And I think, oh, we reached the final pip, so our skills went up. Yeah, we can stop training. Can we stop training poison magic? Yeah, that's already at 8%. So let's stop training that for now. Get spellcasting up to level 5 to help with spell hunger. We'll sort of trickle some into transmutations, and we'll see how that influences this. Maybe also turn fire on. Yeah, I like turning on fire, because that's going to continue to be useful to us. I have this dream of being a firestorm fighter. Firestorm is the ultimate damage dealing spell. The only other spell that is arguably as destructive is Lehudib's Crystal Spear. However, Lehudib's Crystal Spear, while it does irresistible damage and even more damage based on your earth magic, I believe, it is single target and it is relatively short-ranged. Firestorm is massive. It has this gigantic radius. It's I would say almost all of line of sight. Like it's huge. I think 5 tiles maybe. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it just makes giant clouds of flame all over it, and it spawns these spinning flame vortices. Each one is a vortex, I guess. Vortex is... I don't know the plural when it's an entity and not a mathematical term. They're neutral to you, and they just spin around and burn things. They just burn everything. I've never had a character that was capable of casting it myself. I've only ever seen streamers cast it, or I don't even know if I've seen that. I've seen the ghost of a streamer's dead character cast it, and it just demolished things. It was so cool. So that's the dream for Sir TryOnceMore, to surpass his forefathers and cast the mighty Firestorm. I think that's what I'm gonna try to do this run, guys. I think that'll be the challenge, is to make this fighter with this giant mace into a reasonable spellcaster that can at least cast Firestorm without mutating ourselves. That's the goal. So we're talking like 25 fire skill. And similar conjurations. I think it's worth it. That's the goal. We may have to abandon that goal for sake of pragmatism. If we start hurting for resources, for example, we may want to just funnel stuff into our maces and flail skill and just try and bash our way through. Because it'd be a lot easier to just to max out maces and flails and armor and fighting, and just hope we find a really good crystal plate or like artifact armor that's really high in AC, and just try and bash our way through like I have done previously. That's not as fun. I think I mean, it's still awesome. It's still a very satisfying feeling to just maul everything. Um, though I don't believe there are actual literal mauls in this game that you can obtain as weapons. um, but I digress. Uh, that is also satisfying, but I really just want to try to be a cool, like, do it all gargoyle. I think we're strong enough at this point to consider that. I don't think that's being overconfident, in other words. I think that we will not be penalized for aiming for that path because we are ahead enough of the curve, even as cautious as I was in the snake pits. I think we're ahead enough in the curve that we can afford to experiment a little. Like, and I think maybe this combo, we'll see how this goes. If this goes well and it's fun, then we'll definitely keep going with this firestorm path. Snapping turtles have reach. They basically have a polearm neck. So be aware of where the snapping turtle is. They move very slowly, of course. Although I think fast enough in water to keep up with a normal speed character. On land, though, they're still slow. So you can, if you're facing merfolk and a snapping turtle like there, you can draw them away. I chose not to. I feel strong. And that was also a little bit of a test to see how much damage they're dealing to me. It was a controlled situation, like there wasn't anything else approaching me. I could have run away fairly easily without burning too many resources. And, it kind of let me know that I can do okay after a few rounds of combat. Like, I'm not reading too much into that because they could have, hit me and rolled minimum damage twice. We'll have an air battle with sea serpents and harpies, and ow, that actually hurts quite a bit. This is not such a good idea. Wow. Harpies are like giant killer bees that don't have poison. So basically, strictly worse for us. Oh, I don't think any of them can see invisible. No. We'll just use this potion of invisibility. It's time. I think it's a fairly free, wow, though not as effective as I would have liked. I was going to say a fairly free method of escape here, but wow, they just hurt a lot. Okay, we're gonna burn a potion of heal wounds. Definitely. And I think we're just going to turn and fight these guys. I think that's, at this point, a better choice. Ow. Ow, stop. This is so bad. This is just a really reckless, stupid fight that I got myself into. By pressing Auto Explore, I was just really... I've had to use a lot. I mean, we're gonna win, but ow. Well, that's a reality check. And I think perhaps an appropriate place to end this video. It was a little suspenseful. I feel like maybe I'm losing focus. The fact that I got into that situation at all shouldn't have happened. Those were both known monsters. I knew that there were harpies on this level. In fact, when we poked our head in here a couple of videos ago, we faced some harpies. And I specifically said, or, well, maybe that was our last character. But I feel like I should have expected these. And that was just dumb. Like, I probably could have done a bunch of different stuff to, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not griping. Like, we got out of it. We're alive. We burned a potion of invisibility and 2 potions of heal wounds, neither of which will be that effective much longer than right now. So we did not go overboard on our escape buttons. I feel like Berserk Rage would have been overboard, though maybe not. That we could have done that instead of what we did. I don't think we would have needed it in addition to the invisibility, or in addition to the heal wounds. we could have blinked away. I would have hated to have had to do that. And I don't think it would have even worked. Harpies are really fast. We could have teleported. We're mostly done exploring this level. Yeah, teleport would have actually been a really safe option, I think, and probably what I should have done. Because I spent a lot of turns just running around doing nothing. We started over here. That was just pure panic on my part because we suffer no penalty from fighting over the water. None of those could have stopped us from flying. And so getting over here, I think I was trying to maybe be surrounded by fewer enemies. Or something, but yeah, you saw how much damage just the 4 harpies were dealing when I already killed a couple others. I was really late in using the potion of invisibility. I think that's a good reality check. I'll just end the video here while we're low on health. I'll wait to rest until next time, and that'll remind me that we just screwed up. On the plus side, though, our spellcasting reached level 5, so we can toggle these like so. Yeah, this is already down to 30%. This is going to be a really cool combo. If this had been online during that fight, I think we would have easily won with maybe just one round of this. I don't know if it's as powerful as I'm giggling about, but just the thought of a whole bunch of harpies suddenly exploding in midair and falling into the ocean, just um, that's going to be really cool, guys. I hope it is, for both our sakes. All right. Thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate having you check out my videos. I don't thank you enough. This is fun for me. It makes me play the game in a different way. I'm sort of rediscovering Crawl right now on this little vacation that I have before I start bar prep, and it's a lot of fun. Like I feel like I'm doing really well. That I'm playing better than I do when it's just by myself. It's maybe because it's more entertaining for me. It keeps me from getting the #1 cause of death in Crawl, which is boredom. That's also why I'm ending this video right now. I'm having fun, but I feel like I'm behaving in manners that show evidence of boredom. So I'm going to go do something else for a little while. Never be afraid to walk away from the Crawl. And I will see you soon, dear viewers.